Well, today we are here at Adams County Rescue Mission. It has been about 2 weeks since we were here the last time, but I decided that today is the day. So we are going to head in and see what we can find that we can buy and flip for a profit. Here we go. So the rescue mission has been doing some rearranging, and they've added this shelf here at the front of their store with some collectibles and other knickknacks, including all of these cats. And the first cat I noticed was this little Siamese here for $5. I thought it was adorable. They had a few cats that appeared to be made in Japan, and this cat right here, which I really liked, but unfortunately it had been glued and repaired. Down here was some treasure craft, and so I snapped a picture of this and I did send it to my friend George, another YouTuber, the Antique Nomad, who actually wrote the book on treasure craft. I was really excited for the fish because that's not something I've seen before. And he told me that at $30 I could have probably bought it and made a few dollars on it, but I did end up passing on this, and you know, if it's there the next time I go by, maybe I'll grab it, but I just wasn't sure at $30 with that chip, but it's really common to find chips on these pieces, unfortunately. Now there was a cast iron doorstop of Humpty Dumpty. I usually avoid these pieces because I cannot tell the vintage antique cast iron from the reproduction. And with the sticker on the bottom of that, I could not read what the mark was, and it was not one I immediately recognized, and so I left that creamer and sugar behind. These I found interesting, and I loved the intricacy of the artwork on them, but when I turned them over, it did look like they had a modern marking on the bottom. Modern stuff can be resold for a profit, but I tend to lean towards vintage and antique items. I looked through the jewelry and I spotted this Dragonfly Pin, which I did come back to later on, and it was marked with Asian characters, so I left that behind. There were some purses leading into the back room, and I always look through the purses. This red purse, I really loved the color, the bright color. Here inside the door, there are some additional wallets and purses, but nothing there really caught my attention. And then I headed in to the aisles, and you can see here there are lots of pictures and other kitchenware items on the shelf. These shakers I liked. You could see there's crazing to indicate age, and on the bottom they are marked made in Japan. And this piece right here reminded me of vintage McCoy. However, when you turn it over, you can see there is a modern sticker identifier there on the bottom that told me that this is not vintage. That was signed by a studio potter. Now these glasses right here, I did check the bottom to see if they were etched by any particular company, and I did not see any etchings on these. And I did give them a good flick to see if they dinged like crystal. We've got some restaurant wear here. Occasionally I will pick up restaurant wear for resale. One of the restaurant wares that I usually look for is railroad restaurant wear. There's a strong market for the railroad pieces, and this was not a railroad piece. And it was a big, heavy-duty platter, and so unfortunately, it stayed there on the shelf. Now here in the back, you can see there are some new items on the shelves, so I do want to look thoroughly at everything. Those vases there appear to be made in China. We've got this, which I thought at first was porcelain, but when I picked it up and turned it over, I realized that it was actually made of wax. I love that wooden apple, but unfortunately it is damaged. I feel like I look at that every time I come in here. And then I found these. It was just like meant to be right there on the corner of the shelf for $4 for the tiny one and $5 for the larger one. And I was so excited to have found those. This vase, I feel like I've looked at this before. I like the pine cone on it. You can see there it is signed on the bottom to mom and dad or something to that effect. These wall plaques looked to be vintage. They were mailboxes, and I believe they were plastic. You can see they are marked there. I thought maybe they were Homeco or something similar. I left those behind just because they were big and bulky, and I've got enough big and bulky stuff that I have to price for the booth right now. I wasn't sure what these were until I turned them over and realized that they were magnets. But I did like the contrast of the red with the gold on those. This vase looked like it could be something special, and so I did look to see if there were any markings on the bottom. That chipped pitcher is still there waiting. It's still waiting for someone. This cute little kitty apparently missed his ride to the front of the shop. He was $5, and I was really digging those rhinestone eyes. And there was someone's breakfast. Down on the bottom was this planter, and I did turn this over, and of course it says Teleflora. It reminded me of some vintage German planters, especially one that we recently had. I decided to check through the Easter and St. Patrick's Day section. I found this bowl, and when you turn it over, you can see that it is reverse painted or reverse glittered, whatever you want to say there. And then I had glitter all over my fingers. It was very unpleasant. They had lots of really cute Easter stuff. Now I liked this hand-painted goblet, and I especially liked this piece. It appeared to be etched, but there were no markings on it. It was a lot lighter than I expected when I picked it up, and so that kind of turned me off to the piece, and I ended up putting it back. These are Lennox, and you can see on the bottom it says set of 3, and unfortunately there are only 2 there on the shelf. If there were 3, I may have considered it because they were intended as a set of 3. I don't always buy Lennox, but I thought that those were very cute for spring. Now these were marked, and they were marked Schott. Zweisel? Schott. And I did take a moment to look these up because that was not something I was familiar with, and they didn't have a high resale value, so I left them. These were perfect for St. Patrick's Day, these adorable little shamrock glasses, but there were only 2 of them. Had there been a larger set, I may have considered. This stein was interesting how it had a 3-dimensional deer there on the front, but there were no markings or indicators of who made it. This appeared to be Perry&Ware, but there on the bottom it says that it is something from original Bennington Museum. So it is a museum reproduction, and it is not an original piece. So unfortunately he had to stay behind. This reminded me of Lennox as well, but as you can see there were no markings on that. Now I did come back to a piece that I had walked by earlier, and maybe you caught it. It's this little dish here. And I loved the pressed flowers and the way it was painted. You can see here on the back it tells exactly which flowers were used, and it is signed by the artist. Unfortunately, there is a little bit of a chip there on the bottom, but I really liked that. This appeared to be a swanky swig, but I couldn't decide whether or not it was. It was only 50 cents. I went back and forth about it. I could not decide. This says Explore, Dream, Discover. I thought it was cool until I turned it and I saw that and I was like, oh, this is just probably a Target. Look, I went back to the swanky swig. There was a lot of indecision for 50 cents and I probably should have just grabbed it, but I could not decide. I was wrestling over the 50 cents. Imagine that. So I did make my way back up front to look through the jewelry, and I noticed this bracelet that I had not noticed before, and also this pin that reminded me of Christmas. But before I could get to those, they brought these out. Now they wanted $40 for this set, and it was marked Japan on one of the pieces. I liked that it was a complete set. Also, this was brought out front. This is Blanco. It's more modern Blanco. It's not the vintage stuff that I normally buy. You can see there that it is etched on the bottom. The stuff that I usually buy is not marked. And it's usually hard for me to say this is Blanco or this is not Blanco because you have to do a little bit of research to decide. But this one was marked second in series, which I found to be interesting. Now, I did end up getting these two pieces for $40, which I thought was pretty good. But I'd never seen that modeled glass before from Blanco. All right, well, I feel like we got some really great items today. I'm super excited about those art glass ashtrays. I believe they could be white friars, but I'm not 100% positive on that. It's gonna take a little bit of detective work to finally pinpoint who makes those, but we also got some Blanco, and that was pretty exciting. So we had a good trip. Our total spend was $110, and we actually got invited to come back for a tour of the facility and also to find out more about the organization and what it is that they do. So I'm very excited about that. So in one of the upcoming videos, I'm sure that we will show little snippets of that and share that with you guys. But I'm going to get out of here now. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I will see you all tomorrow later. Well, rather than end the video right there, I am going to roll right into a haul video and talk a little bit about the pieces that I bought today at Adams County Rescue Mission. So there at the end, I did acquire a few pieces. Two of those pieces are this beautiful Blanco pitcher. It is marked 2013 on the bottom, so it is a newer piece, as well as this vase. And I just love the contrast of the yellow with the orange, but this one is also dated 2015 and it is signed Blanco. A lot of the vintage pieces that I usually buy and sell are not typically signed, and so I find them and I say, you know, this could be Blanco or that could be Blanco, but it's harder to tell on the vintage pieces. You have to know the shapes and you have to know the different pieces, and it's a lot trickier. These were easy. They're signed. Anyway, these had just come in and they were going to be selling them at $100. And I did tell them that, you know, I would expect to get 45 to 65 each on those. And so they did come down to $40 on the pitcher and the vase. However, I did promise that I made more than that, I would return with a donation to the organization, which I am perfectly okay with because I love shopping there and I've had really good luck there in the past. So those are the Blanco pieces. Now, I also purchased some Japan blue vases. It was a whole mishmash of vases. There was a bell, and it was a whole bunch of odds and ends. I'll post a video of it because I didn't actually bring it in from the car. But I did end up paying $40 for that. I wouldn't typically buy that. I thought it was a nice set. It's not something I typically buy for resale. I figured that I could make some money on it. Not only that, but I wanted to support the thrift store and support their mission, and so I did end up purchasing that, knowing that I'm not going to make a whole lot of profit on it, but I know that the funds are going to a good place, and so I bought that with the mindset of I've made really good money on the stuff I've bought here previously, and I know I'm going to continue to make money on the stuff I buy here, and I would love to support them in the process. So I don't have it here with me, but I did purchase the Japan blue set, and that set probably dates to, I want to say, the 1960s or the 1970s. Now I'm going to crinkle the bag. I'm giving a warning to all of you who had that sensory problem. I know it's a real thing. Someone in the comments was like, it's a real thing. I understand. I'm giving you the warning. I'm going to crinkle the bag. Here we go. I did purchase 2 ashtrays, and they have bullicante in them, which is this controlled bubbles that you see here. I paid $4 for this one, and I paid $5 for this one, which is a little bit larger. Clearly, they are a set, 2 different sizes, and I absolutely love the bullicante in there. Now, this is quality glass. Is it Murano? I could not say for certain, and I'm always very careful when I list my items that I don't list them as Murano unless I can say for certain. I don't believe these are Murano. I think that these could be white friars, but I'm still not 100% on that. So I will likely be listing these as art glass. The reason I think they're white friars is because I have been doing a lot of research on white friars, and they do have a lot of pieces with this bullicante, so I'm just not 100% sure on this. In any case, regardless of who made it, it is nice quality glass, and that's one of the things that I look for when I'm out sourcing and at thrift shops. So $4 and $5. I feel pretty good about that. There is no damage on them except for a little scratching on the bottom. And a lot of collectors will look for that, so it's important when you're listing them on eBay that you mention the scratching on the bottom or on the inside or any scratching at all, because in addition to chips and cracks, they're going to want to know if there's scratching. Take it from me, I list a lot of art glass. Now we've got this little pressed flower dish. It is marked on the back with the types of flowers that were used in the making of the dish. And I thought that this was adorable and dainty and perfect for spring. It was $5, but there was something about it. My mom used to always have these pressed flower pieces when we lived in Cape Cod, and so it was kind of a nostalgia thing for me. If you guys remember when I used to always buy those cooking molds and they got me in trouble all the time, it was kind of one of those. Hopefully this doesn't get me in trouble. I thought that this was beautiful, and I figured that I could probably do pretty well with this. So there you go. And now the jewelry. Now I did purchase 2 different pieces of jewelry. The first is this here, and it is costume. It's got all the fuzzies from the box on it still, but it is costume. The reason I bought it is because recently when I was at Goodwill, I purchased some Lucky brand purses, and they did very well. So I noticed that this bracelet did have Lucky there on it, and I thought, you know what, I wonder if that's related to Lucky brand purses, and if the purses did well, maybe the bracelet will do well. Hopefully, we'll see. You win some, you lose some, you pay to learn. That's part of the game of reselling. Now, I also purchased this rhinestone brooch. I thought it was absolutely beautiful. It is a costume, but I loved the way it sparkled. For only $5, it reminded me of a snowflake, and I loved the contrast of the green and the red, and it just made me think of Christmas. So I had to do it. And there are no rhinestones and no stones missing at all on this brooch, so it was fantastic. And I figured that that would do pretty well, especially around the holidays. So I don't know if I'm going to hold on to it until the holidays or I'm going to list it sooner than that, but I liked the brooch. So that is everything. I've got like fuzz on my nose now. That white fuzz gets everywhere. So that is everything that I bought at the Adams County Rescue Mission. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. We got some really good pieces. We didn't buy a whole lot, but we got some good pieces. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I can't wait to go back with the promise of a tour. Maybe we can look around a little bit, find out some more about their mission and what exactly they do to serve the community. And I'm going to end the video right here, and I will see all of you tomorrow. Later. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this video. In case you spotted something you just can't live without, we do post 25 to 30 new items in our eBay shop every single day, and I've posted a link to that down in the description.